Hello. In this video, we'll be going over IRS Form 8994, Employer Credit for Paid Family and Medical Leave. So this is a relatively new tax credit. It came about in 2018, I believe as a result of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And this allows employers to take a partial tax credit for providing paid family and medical leave to their employees under certain circumstances. So it's not a dollar for dollar tax credit, and FMLA, which is what the acronym is actually authorized on an unpaid basis by the Family and Medical Leave Act. However, this provides an incentive for employers to keep their employees at some semblance of a payroll. So maybe 50% pay, maybe 60% pay, or so on, to keep their employees on a payroll while they are attending certain family or medical related leave items. So we're going to walk through that in just a moment. First, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the 4 questions that really qualify or disqualify an employer from being able to take this tax credit. These are outlined in lines A, B, C, and D. And if you answer no to any of these questions, then you cannot claim this tax credit. However, you may still claim a credit for pass-through credits that are issued to either a partnership or an S corporation. But for the intents and purposes as an employer, you need to do the following. A, you need to have a written policy providing for at least 2 weeks of annual paid and family and medical leave for your qualifying employees to whom you pay wages. You can prorate this for part-time employees, but you have to have a written policy in place. So in line B, it outlines that your written policy has to provide paid family and medical leave of at least 50% of the wages that would normally be paid to a qualifying employee. In line C, says you have to have at least paid out the family and medical leave to at least one qualifying employee during the tax year. And then in D, if you employed at least one qualifying employee who was not covered by the FMLA, did you include your written policy and otherwise comply with non-interference language? So there are a lot of definitions here. We do break down some of these definitions in a little bit more detail in the article. For this example, we're going to assume that Doe Enterprises, our employer, we've put the EIN up here, and we assume that they meet all the criteria. So if you need to take a closer look at the criteria itself, then you can refer to our article. I'll give you instructions at the end of this video. So now we're going to go to lines 1, 2, and 3. And line 1 is really the crux of the calculation for this form. So you'll see that we entered $4,500. This is the total paid family and medical leave credit that was calculated for wages paid during your tax year to a qualifying employee or employees while on family and medical leave. So we used the paid family and medical leave credit worksheet. So we're going to transition to that in just a second. There we go. So this is the paid family and medical leave credit worksheet. You can find this in the form instructions. It has as many lines as you need for each employee that you are paying FMLA for. So there are 4 columns. Column A, the qualifying employee, so in this case, John Smith. Column B, the actual amount of wages that we paid on to Mr. Smith on his family and medical leave. Column C, the applicable percentage, there's actually a separate worksheet that we'll get to in a moment that helps us calculate the applicable percentage and then the credit amount. So what we'll do is for each employee that we outline here, we would enter the total amount of wages, the applicable percentage based on the company's policy, and then so in this case we multiply the amount of leave, the applicable percentage, and this is where we get the $4,500 for the tax credit. But the big question is, where do we get the applicable percentage number? Well, that would be from the applicable percentage worksheet. So first things first, at the very bottom, it says that you have to complete a separate worksheet for each separate percentage required and used under your written policy for the payment of family and medical leave. So if you had multiple policies where one group of people gets paid 60%, another group gets paid 50%, so on and so forth, you would have a separate worksheet. But basically what this is saying is you have to have at least 50%. So if your family and medical leave is 50% of your normal employee leave, then that would translate to 12.5% you're able to take a tax credit for. So basically, you're able to take a quarter of the percentage that you're paying out. So in this case, let's just say that our written policy says we pay our employees 60%. In this case, line 1, 60%. We're going to minus out the 50% that's already the default, which means we have a 10% kind of overage. We're going to multiply the 10% by 0.25 percentage points, so we get 2.5%. We're going to add that to the base applicable percentage of 12.5%, and we arrive at 15%. And as you can see, that's what we have here shown as a decimal, and then that $4,500 is what is reflected right here in line 1. So in line 2, this would be any amounts that were reported to you as a partnership or an S corporation from your K-1. So if you are a shareholder in an S corporation, this would be on your K-1 box 13 marked with a code P. If you're in a partnership, this would be on your Schedule K-1 for your Form 1065, box 15 marked with a code P. So in this case, we just put down $5,000. That's the pass-through. If the only reason you would be filing this form is for this line 2 and you did not need to calculate your own credit separately, you could enter that as part of the general tax, the general business credit on IRS Form 3800 directly on Part 3, Line 4J. But since we're having to calculate it here, we're going to go ahead and add that up. We put this on line 3. So now partnerships and S corporations would report this on Schedule K. All other taxpayers will report this on IRS Form 3800, line 4J, which is in Part 3. So this is a fairly straightforward tax form, and there's not a whole lot to it other than just making sure that you actually qualify and then understanding the relationships that each of the worksheets has with each other. So as I mentioned, we do go into much more detail in the article where we break down some of the definitions and some of the concepts behind this. So if you want, simply go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form 8994 in the search bar, and you'll see our article there. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if there's a question that you need help with or that you would like to see addressed in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.